Well, good evening. It's your buddy Ryan here. Just listening to some Radio New Zealand International on the Texan PL880 and thought I would do sort of a longer listening session with you and see just kind of how well the signal comes in here. This is a station I can pick up really, really well here. And, maybe we could just have sort of a listen and just go on a bit of a journey with it. Let's give it a shot.
The UK and Australia reveal details of their new security pact. The British leader, Rishi
No
Sunak,
filter.
has once again warned of the growing threats posed by China. He says the UK needs to take...
You can hear it's basically coming in like FM almost.
Blocking Chinese investment in sensitive sectors. Meanwhile, the Chinese President Xi Jinping has vowed to bolster national security and build the country's military into a great wall of steel. CNN's Selena Wang reports.
Chinese leader Xi Jinping vows to build the country's military into a great wall of steel in his first speech of his unprecedented third term as president. But the biggest applause from the rubber stamp parliament came after Xi repeated the pledge to reunite Taiwan with the motherland. It marks the end of a week-long political meeting that saw Xi further consolidate his power and drive home how China needs to fortify itself against America's campaign to contain the country. Less than a day after his speech, U.S. President Joe Biden hosting British and Australian leaders to discuss details of the new AUKUS Defense Pact that's seen as a bid to counter China in the Pacific. China's new foreign minister, Qin Gang, has accused Washington of plotting an Asia-Pacific version of NATO and called America's China strategy a reckless gamble. But Li Qiang tried striking a more conciliatory tone in his first press conference as premier, China's #2 official. Li said U.S. and China decoupling is hype, pointing out that trade between the two countries reached a record high last year. One of Xi's most trusted predecessors, Li is the former Shanghai party boss that oversaw the city's brutal 2-month COVID lockdown last spring. He tried downplaying Beijing's crackdown on tech and private businesses, calling on officials to support private sector growth. But Li steps into premiership with a tough road ahead. The economy still battered after 3 years of tough COVID restrictions, U.S. sanctions, and deteriorating diplomatic relations with the West. But China's economic and political powers are growing elsewhere. Beijing hosted talks between Saudi Arabia and Iran that led to a breakthrough. The two nations agreed to bury the hatchet and restore ties. It's a geopolitical win amid growing concerns about Beijing's deepening ties with Russia and refusal to call the conflict in Ukraine an invasion.
Xi Jinping made it very clear that he wants to restore China's position. China will play a leadership role in the international arena. So I would say that Xi Jinping tried to learn from Putin to consolidate his power. So he sees Russia and also Putin leadership as a role model. And the relationship is too deep.
But Beijing is trying to use that relationship to build the narrative that Xi Jinping is a global problem solver. He calls the shots at home and abroad.
The BBC has backed down and will allow the prominent football pundit Gary Lineker back on air after suspending him for publicly criticising the British government's tough asylum reforms. The broadcaster says it will carry out an independent review of its social media and impartiality guidelines. A Conservative government backbencher called it a pathetic capitulation. The BBC's David Sillito has more.
So very cool. You can see it comes in exceptionally clear here on my setup. I used to be able to get it fairly well, but ever since I set up my 100-foot copper long wire antenna and got this here Texan radio, it just comes in absolutely beautifully, enough that I can actually turn it on and listen all night, rather than kind of jumping from station to station like I have to do with some other channels. So I just thought that might be good for you to enjoy. I am going to do a review of some of my different radios here soon. I have some older ones and a little Sea Crane Skywave I was thinking of reviewing, and a $10 Chinese radio. We'll see if we can actually catch anything. Especially, we'll see how it performs when I combine the long wire antenna with the incredibly cheap radio. So anyway, hope you enjoyed. If you want to see any of those future videos, feel free to subscribe and toss a thumbs up on this. This helps me know if you're interested in this kind of video. Other than that, I want to thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your night.